but we can grab anybody as needed. So just let us know and keep us informed if you need some group shots of things. So that is all I have. And also make sure if you don't have a credential that you let me know, and we can get that taken care of yet today. We might be able to get it to you in the before you leave. All right, Coach Farley.
All right, welcome. Kind of nice to have a normal season and do this thing normal again. So it's been 2 years since we really had any rhythm to anything. So first off, wanted to bring it over here. I know they announced it over there. We want to be in our building, in our program, sitting here in the Unidome. And this is the first time in all the years I've ever been here as a player, coach, or anything that we got to be in our building, all right, with this team room. And thanks to our football alumni, thanks to Van G. Miller and a number of friends of our university football program, that we get to sit in a room like this, okay? So this is a great deal for us, and at the same time, the outdoor practice field from the Gotchkes is another great deal. And without Van G. Miller or Doug and Ann Gotchke, I mean, what a difference they've made between this room and the outdoor field. So can't say that enough or as many times, because we've been around as long as I have. We know how special and how much of a difference this is for us. When you're sitting in meetings all the time, when you're sitting on the football field, and when you say a program's developing players, you need the things to develop them with. And you're sitting in right here in the outdoor field. But more importantly, you also need the people to develop it. And so the first thing I'll end up doing is I'll go through our coaches, okay? The coaching guys that you'll see down there, there's some new faces and there's some old faces. There's some title changes and things like that probably just got released today, that got updated today anyway. But I'll start with Bryce Pop, okay? Bryce has been here a number of years, and Bryce will coach our defensive line, but he'll also be the assistant head football coach. Bryce has a great demeanor off the field as much as on the field, and that direction and mentorship is very important to our team and to the coaches as far as what the University of Northern Iowa football team is about. You jump to Coach Randall McCray. He came, he's our defensive coordinator. He will be the defensive back coach, and then he and Benny Sapp. Benny played for us, okay? And Benny will coach our corners. Coach Randall will coach the safeties, and then take the defensive coordinatorship from there. Griff McCray is the newest one. Griff McCray comes to us, actually, he's a GA down at Kansas State, and he comes to us, and the connection there is he was with two former coaches of ours, one from years ago that is now with Oklahoma, and then one, of course, from we have some guys down at K-State. So he knows our terms, he knows our ways, and was brought up in that kind of fashion. So easy transition for him. So Griffin Mccarl is our linebackers coach. Offensive, we'll have two guys coordinating our offense, and it will be Bodie Reeder. You guys have already known about Bodie, and he and Ryan Clanton will coordinate our offense. Ryan is our offensive line coach. Bodie will be the quarterback coach within that. Following that up, it will be Joe Gantz is back again to be the receiver coach. And then you have Atif Austin, who's been here before, came back around again. And we had him on the front side of his career. Now we have him in the mid-career. And Atif is coaching our running backs. And then the other guy that's new to us, maybe not to you guys, is Drew Tate. Coach Tate will coach our tight ends. Okay. You see Brandon Keith on there. And the thing about Brandon, we've had two medical things happen to our staff. One is Brandon Keith, so he's still back home with his family, taking care of some medical issues back home. And then, of course, you won't see Joe Gantz today. Joe just left. He's had some medical things that he can only do some things, and he had to get to his doctor's appointment today. So he hasn't been with us yet this semester or this practice season. He got to coach for the first day yesterday. So he's cleaning up some things. Everything will turn out all right for everybody, but we have missed two coaches here for this camp so far due to medical. Other than that, that's why, again, Drew Tate is the tight end coach. You see earlier, if you look in your program, he will coach the tight ends, and he's come a long way. Sometimes you got to get to know people to really cut them loose and trust them and use them in your program, and Drew's really done a nice job. Okay, he's a competitor, and he's a good teacher. So, and that's what we look for. So that's our coaching staff. I'll jump. I got it. You probably won't write about them, but I need to mention them. Okay, around the University of Northern Iowa, you need a great support staff. Man, people got to do twice as much as anywhere else around here. Okay, Michelle's juggling a ton of balls around here, trying to make all these sports go. Most people have 4 people in her department. Okay, she's running around trying to put together her staff and things like that. What she does, enormous. Okay, other people that have made a difference. Number one is Jed. Anytime you put this football team out there, you ought to think Jed Smith, okay? Jed's in there all summer long with those guys. Same thing with Stacia. Stacia's in charge of our academics through the football, and without Jed or Stacia, there might not be some guys down there that we talk about. You don't talk about the draft, you don't talk about that unless you mention those people. Heck, I'll go to Kevin. I got Kevin and Andrew up here cooking for us, for crying out loud. Talk other programs, they might be going to their cafeterias and doing all the fancy stuff. We got Kevin Lauderville and Andrew's up here, Stallman. They're up here cooking every single day, every single meal. And we probably have better nutrition here than maybe at the University of Iowa. And we do it right here in the Dome. You walk by the tables, you walk out, that's our cafeteria, all right? But I tell you what, the food is great because they're actually gaining weight. And I got to cut back a little bit. So they're doing too good a job down there. So I got to mention them because, man, they solve so many problems. And then people downstairs like Kelly and Beth and Justin, man, they do stuff behind the scenes that make it easier for me to go coach football. But what you all need to understand is when you talk Northern Iowa, shoot, man, we got to do a lot with a lot less. But we still get the same thing done and we can do it better. But, man, it takes great people doing a lot more than maybe what they were hired to do. They got to do about 3 hands worth of work. As a lot of you guys do. Same thing in the meeting, man. You're doing about 3 sessions right now. You got to do rests and everything else. We're juggling balls like you are. But we can still do it in a great way like you guys do. So appreciate you being here, and that's kind of where it's at. Jumping around, captains. We've already done the captains. You know, the first 3, I tell you, the captains really represent really what the team looks like. And the first ones I'll mention are Spencer Cuvalier out of Cresco, Nick Ellis out of Parkersburg, Eric Sorensen out of Des Moines, okay, out of Waukee. That is UNI football, the Iowa football players, okay. Iowa football players that Ellis and Sorensen, I believe, are in their 6th or 7th year. Okay, go figure, man. Some of these guys have been around forever because of COVID and everything. So you look at that, and then Koo is with us. That actually came in from Iowa Central, but he's a captain of our football team. Okay, and now he's on the watch list for the Defensive Player of the Year. So, and deservedly so. You jump to the other half, and you've got Dom, Quan, and Benny Sapp. So you got Quan Hampton, you got Dom Williams, and you got Benny Sapp III. And again, they represent us because they've been here, transferred in here, but yet are a true representation of what we are. And so, you know, they bring a different dynamic because they're the out of state, whatever you want to call them, but yet they're us. Okay, they're UNI football with how they practice, how they play, and what's instilled in them. So they've been here that now they're making an impact, and so they will be the other 3 captains. The other guy that you ought to mention in there, okay, because I only had 6, but you'll see him on the field because I'll put him out there as a captain. Matt Cook. Matt Cook from Cedar Falls High School, tremendous kicker, tremendous person, tremendous leader. I mean, what he did this summer, what he's doing in the weight room, not just with the kickers, but as a leader. I mean, not very often will I say that kicker takes that kind of role amongst the team. He has. You can take it amongst your group, your segment, but amongst the team, hard to do. Matt Cook has done that, and he's just a local product here that really has done a great job and went from walk-on to scholarship All-American because of how hard he works and the time he puts into this. So you have to mention him when you start talking about captains. I'll quickly go and cover the bases so you guys, then you can pop the questions in because y'all want to know about offense, defense, and special teams. I'll take over. Let's start with the offense. Let's go to quarterback. All right. You got Theo and Matt. All right. Theo Day, Matt Morrissey. Right now they're splitting reps. All right. Theo came in as the number 1 quarterback. If you want to put that, taking the first rep on the first day. If you will practice this afternoon, don't judge who goes first. Right now they're kind of one day is one day is the other. They're getting the same multiple reps, equal reps with equal players. So you're throwing to the good players as much as maybe your freshmen that you took, so you get a good evaluation on it. And I've said that because my belief is it's not time to pick the quarterback this early in camp. It's time to find the players because it's more about the continuity and chemistry of the team than it is just the quarterback. So they're getting their work. I mean, they're getting equal reps, but starting probably tomorrow or if I said that, you asked me the question what the depth chart is, but starting on Monday, I probably will come up with the first team guy. Okay, maybe on Monday of next week. But right now, we're not there. Okay, we just need to continue and develop everybody at every position, not just who we believe the starters are. So that's Theo and Matt. At offensive line, you've already talked about Sorensen and Ellis, but the other guys who go with this are Vanderslice. Matt Vanderslice is the left tackle. Jared Penny will be the left guard. and Justin Piney, who's been with us, will be the right guard. So those guys have been around. They're developed players. They're strong football players. It's nice to have a continuity and established offensive line. Tight end, I would say right now, Jaden Scott is a returner. He was hurt last year, but the other guys that are very effective and will be starters is Alex Allen and Elaine Pryor. Those two guys have done a great job. Elaine is an 8-man football guy that played last year, but is a true sophomore. And Alex Allen has really made himself into a good football player. So Alex will be out there as a tight end. Running back wise, Dom and Vance. So you'll have Dom Williams and Vance McShane. Okay, they will be the two that will be going back and forth. Okay, we have some others that are growing into that phase right now, but those two are dynamic. They're established. They're good. So we'll switch off. Those two are very good running backs. They can match up with what's going on. Receiver wise, we've always tried to get the right receivers in the right spots. We've had some injury problems over the years. But right now, you have, I think, the key ones. You've got Deion McShane, you've got Quan Hampton, and you've got Wolf. All right, Logan Wolf. Those are three primary receivers in our program, established, good. They'll be starters for us. They will play a lot. Becoming behind that, I don't want to say behind it, but we'll get into the rotation with those three will be two TKs. You got TK Kershaw, Tyson Kershaw out of Fort Dodge. And you got TK Kamara out of Minnesota. There will be two other receivers. And then Peter Udiak is a transfer out of Minnesota that's really done a nice job. We have others that are still competing that can hit the board, Bill Washington and some others. I think I've hit them all. But the receiver score we wanted to establish because of the type of style of offense that we want to create. So we did go into the portal. We did have good established guys coming back. And we tried to get as many receivers in here as we could because we got to find 5 great ones, not just good ones. So that's the receiver core. I'll even mention, before I leave the street, so we took Desmond Hudson, okay? He's been hurt. He's had a slight handball camp, so he hasn't showed up. That's why he doesn't jump to the top of my tongue. But at the same time, he was very good in the spring. Really like Brady McCullough, the freshman we took out of Des Moines. Okay, really like him, big, tall, strong player, so he's also in the mix. So that is the offense. I'll jump to defense. The defensive guys that will be factors, impact players for us. I'll start with the defensive line. Devin Rice, Caden Hoftelling, and Christian Boyd. Those are 3 established, good defensive linemen. Proven defensive linemen need to continue to improve to go to another level. The 3 established guys. Guys that will need to step up and get to that level to play at to establish themselves this year is Butler, right? Cannon Butler is a guy, and Bowl is here right now. He transferred in out of Stanford last year, so he's been with us. So he has to do a great job with that. And then Cordarius Bailey, transfer out of Iowa State. So we tried to bring in some support. We had a good front. We just didn't have the depth that we needed. So we wanted to bring in some mature players because that takes the weight room. That takes time. You don't walk out and play D-line. So you have to be established and strong. Of course, we're trying to replace Brinkman and the Butcher. And those guys are, you don't replace them. You just try to get back to what they were because they brought a lot to our team. So that takes care of the defensive line. Linebackers, 2 guys that you always talk about are Coov. So we've already talked about Coov and Bryce Flater. Grundy center down here. Flater's just a solid, heck, he's a good linebacker. Okay, how he plays. He plays like an old school linebacker. Coop plays the same way. And then Edwin Dearman will be is sitting out there at that nickel right now that we're looking at to replace Lambert from last year. And then I'll jump into the secondary, and secondary is kind of like the receivers to me. You've got to get multiple guys to find 5 good ones. You better have 5 to win, because somebody's going to get nicked up along the way. And right now, starting in there, the guys that are established and we know our impact players will be Benny Sapp. All right, he's got his. We can write about him all day long. He's kind of like a Cook type guy for us that has got a lick, and Kugler that's got a lot of established plays for him. He's just flat good. Okay, there's no easier way to say it than he's got a great talent. But why is a great talent? He's got great energy. The other ones go along with it: Stephon Black and DeMarcus Governor at the corner. man, Savon Black is really doing a good job. Gov came in here 2 years ago and really bought in and is playing UNI football. And then Javon Brecky's been here for a while, and he'll be that other secondary guy. So those are the four primary, but there's multiple I could talk about. We had Miguel Edwards come in here. We've had Damian Crumtree come in here. I mean, we're trying to get guys, just like the receivers, bring some established guys in here because, again, that's one of those positions. You got to be fast. You got to be smart, okay, to play here. So we'll bring the guys in. We brought the fast guys in. Now we'll get the ones that fit the best in the program. And if they play right, they might get nicked up. And then the next guy in's got to be just as good. And that's why we have to develop that depth there, and that's why we did what we did. Special teams wise, Matt Cook will lead the charge. Drew Clausen will be our long snapper. That's a big deal. Drew's doing a good job out there. It could be Isaiah Garman, another one, but I think Drew's ahead right now. Garman's probably could be there by the time we get to game day. Cale Loescher, punter. Cale Loescher out of Cedar Falls High School. He's really working hard to get consistency there because he can bang it, and he's also a receiver. He's showing up as a receiver right now in the last couple of practices. So he moved from that quarterback slot and went into receiver. He's really doing a good job of receiver. So, but he'll probably be our punter. But Noah Pettinger out of Dubuque is a freshman here, and he's got a big leg too. So we'll see where that goes over the next few weeks, where the punter is. But that's the snapper, the kicker, and Cale will be a holder for Matt Cook. So that's where it's at as of today. Today, I believe we go into our seventh practice. We just had our full gear practice yesterday for the first time, and we entered practice scrimmaging, live scrimmage. First, I haven't scrimmaged that early, that soon, but we've got multiple numbers that we've never had before for the last 2 years. So we're back up to number-wise full strength again. So I scrimmaged them yesterday, particularly the young guys, not the old guys that we know. We have to find out where these young guys are as far as tackling. So we put the full pads on, and we did yesterday, tackled yesterday at the end of practice, and found a couple more players. So there's some good young players out there that showed up yesterday. So they're going to get more opportunities to continue to show up because we go into second phase of camp, which will start today. We're just helmets today, but we'll go back into full pads tomorrow, and then we'll scrimmage again on Saturday. After Saturday, we'll set a depth chart, and then we start moving towards Air Force. So it's kind of the schedule of what's going on. So go ahead, fire away.
Mark, we don't always get to speak to you on media day after you've had this number of practices. You talked a little bit about practice, but what else would you say about 6 practices in terms of what or who has stuck out to you?
The first thing that stuck out to me is the thing that's our biggest challenge is bringing all these dynamics together. We sat in this room for the first time, and I said, if you are a 6 or 7 year player, stand up. If you have been here less than 6 months, stand up. The starting unit will have players in here that have been here less than 6 months, as much as guys that have been here for 6 years. Now bring that dynamic together in 30 days. And that's been what I've looked for as much as how to blend that. There will be growing pains going through that, as anything, okay? Because 1, you have to learn our way, but 2, you have to learn how to play with each other. We have to learn our way. And everybody's got to play that way and fit our system and not just be fast. Okay, you can be fast and big. We can win with good players. If you want to be a great team, you got to get the best players out there playing as a unit. So that will be the emphasis all the way through camp. We will go through our growing pains to do so, just like any team does, but that's what camp is for. I've noticed out on the football field, and I really don't like to refer to leadership, but I have seen our older group of players really invest in what they're doing. And when I see that, what I mean by invested, I'm watching Quan go help some of these newcomers, guys that are trying to win a position. He's out there still trying to help them, even if they're at his position. I see him manage a sideline and try to get help where coaches aren't there. So I'm watching to see what goes on outside the coaching world to see how the players are invested in the program. This group seems to be that way, not just Quan. That's an example. I watch Sapp, I watch Ellis, I just see how their demeanor is on the sideline when maybe there's other players on the field. Are they in tune to working with, communicating about football? We're talking about what happened last night and just waiting for the turn to go on the field. These guys are much more invested, as it seems to me today, and we'll build off that. Conditioning wise, that's a big deal because of where our first game's at. Okay, so we better be in condition, and the climate. We were forced inside last week, so and then this week we finally got to go outside. So we got forced in last week, and this is like playing on the. This is like spring break. All right, this is good in here. All right, but man, you get outside, that's a chore, and we have to live in that and practice in that. And let we can't let the elements factor into it, whether it's the heat, the height of the wherever we play, the elevation we're at, whatever. Okay, can't let that play game. It will factor. It will affect. We just can't let it factor into it. So that's a mindset to me more than anything else. So those are all the things playing in my head. And I'm watching the quarterbacks. I'm watching. The other thing I'll tell you is coaches, particular defensive side. I mean, Reeder and Clanton and Joe. I mean, that's a pretty easy connection. Okay, because of their past, because of what they came from, how they play. So it's a fairly good connection, a fit, a bridge. And then on top of that, all last spring, they built the words, they built the system, and they built it for UNI, not for whatever was used before. So they retooled it and made it for our players. So it is for them by name, by structure, by everything, built for that personnel and those names on that personnel. Where before you kind of carry something in and terminology that really doesn't mean anything because you're pulling names out of the woodwork sometimes to make names for stuff. Versus defense, totally different. We've always run the same defense, but now there's some coaching to be done in the staff room as much as on the field because coaches are learning our ways. We're learning their techniques, maybe to help tweak and make us better, but they're learning our way, our defense, and there's a lot of players out there that know our defense very well, and now they're trying to, maybe they know defense a couple of terms with the offense. The players don't. So in 7 days, I'm trying to marry that up and then tweak that as we get through it. But it's not a problem. It's just never been I haven't had that issue for about 5-6 years because I could walk in a meeting 5 minutes later, I can leave the defensive meeting. Now that meeting's an hour long, so you got to coach them up to get ready to go coach the players up. It just takes more time to do that, but it's all good time because you got a different, bring some newness or a little bit of more energy to it when you got to go back to the basics again, which is good. So I don't know if that answers your question, but if I can go with it.
Hey, Coach, between red shirts and COVID, you talked about guys being here 6-7 years. Does it worry you that some of the freshmen and sophomore might get further behind with a lot of these like super duper seniors?
No, and actually, a great example is we put DeJuan Mack, who will be a heck of a football player. DeJuan Mack comes out of Kansas City. We put DeJuan Mack, he's actually a corner. I put DeJuan Mack behind Benny Sapp. And I told him to learn from Benny Sapp. I told him to watch him practice. That's how you practice. Okay, so when you get the right guys and you put them behind the right people, learn how they practice so they see it from the beginning. You try to put an offensive line, the receiver, get him behind the right guy so he can learn from that group. Get somebody behind an offensive lineman because, quite frankly, Spencer Brown helped Trevor Penny. Trevor Penny helped Jared Penny. Is Jared Penny going to be help the next guy behind him that's a freshman that was Ben Kudus that we just brought in? So I'm more of the fact that if we bring the right guys in and we put them behind the right person that exemplifies what we believe is going to be the right character, the professional attitude that it takes to play the game, then you will learn from that player. So I'm excited that we've got some old guys because their demeanor is much different than a junior when you're talking a third-year senior. I mean, these guys know the program as good as I do. Heck, they've been here longer than probably the whole football staff. If I go think about it like that. So I think it's great because of the right guys. They stayed for a reason, okay? Because they could have left and got on with stuff, but they stayed because of UNI football and because of their friends and they're connected to UNI football. So I think that's a positive. At the same time, they'll get their turn. I mean, football's changed, as you all know. Good luck, man. Look at the roster this year. I don't know what's going to be next year. Okay, and I don't think any team can say right now because the rules are changing every day. I've had rules changed before I go to practice. All right, so it's crazy right now, some of the things that have happened, and we're still tweaking the rules, and then we have to adapt very quickly on the field.
Well, one of the rules, obviously, 7 practices, you haven't been able to put on pads yet. Before, I know UNI has the example of physicality when you get out on the field, both sides of the football. Do you really know about your players before, before they put on the pads? How much do you know about them, especially the guys you haven't seen a lot of?
Well, that's a great question. That's why I scrimmaged the other day just to find out. Because we're running around, we can actually put probably more time with them mentally in the off season, maybe than we've done before, a little bit more anyway, as far as getting them to understand the playbook. But man, the playbook doesn't win games. All right, it's the kid, it's the players, and then you need to go out and hit, and you need to hit to establish that mentality. And I think that's the biggest challenge, quite frankly. And now I see myself, oh, you don't want to. I always say you don't want to break your toys, man. And in a way, when I'm telling you, the coach, I'm going, you got to be smart with these guys, all right? You got to take care of them. You got to toughen them up. You got to bang them. You got to hit. You got to do those things. But you also got to be smart with them, because I'd rather him be out there for 30 practices instead of bang him for 2 and he's out for 2 weeks. Because now he's not getting better playing. We're not getting into shape. So it's totally changed. We used to be outside 2 a days. It didn't matter what the heat index was. Man, the other day, heat index, it got a little hot. And next thing I know, I'm inside playing on spring break. So it's like that part of the game, we have to find a way to structure them to get them ready for the season. Otherwise, they're going to learn the hard way. And I think that's what you're seeing early in season. Some people are learning the hard way what they didn't get done in camp, because I don't want to even say softened, they have restructured how we practice, which sometimes we've gone too, or we haven't taken them to the level they need to get to by the first game. We get 11 games. We don't get 25, 32 basketball games. We get 11. Your first one is just as important as your last one, okay? And that's why you got to get ready. These 30 days are everything. So I got to ramp it up. I'm sitting there looking last night. I got to ramp it up. I watched them condition yesterday, and they got to condition more. Otherwise, we're going to learn the hard way. And how far do I push them before you start to wear them and break them, and then they're out for 2 weeks. So we were all players, and that's that fine line we walk right now.
What will go into your decision making on picking a number 1 quarterback?
Score the most points. and seriously, brought Bodie Reader in here to score points. Brought receivers in here to score points. Quarterback's got to make decisions to score points. Which quarterback will drive the field on a 2-minute offense? Everybody, you look at our schedule right now. We've always played the toughest schedule. You could probably say this is the lightest schedule in the last 6 years, and it's still going to be a top 3 schedule. Because I just looked at the rankings. We played 5 of the top 10 in the deal, plus Air Force. So I'm going, okay, there's 6 of our 11 games or whatever right there against top 10 teams in the country. So I'm going, all right, well, we'll make my decision. We're going to have to win games in 2-minute offense. We're going to have to win games with a field goal. We're going to win games by 7 points or less. It's going to come down to a field goal or less if we're playing with what we need to play, just because the opponent is that good too. So who's going to make those drives? Who's going to be able to take the field with that kind of demeanor to win the game? And that's points, demeanor, leadership, whatever word you want to tie to it. That's what will determine if we pick the right quarterback, and if we got the quarterback to do that. But you also need players around them for that support staff. It'll come down to the quarterback.
You mentioned Air Force a couple times and the elevation. Is there a plan to maybe simulate that elevation, the thinner air, anything to do with that level of conditioning?
I can't, okay? And there's no way around it. You got to be, you're going into adversity. It's been mentioned. We won't talk about it, but it will. It's going to affect the game. It's how you substitute. It's how you play. That's their game. It's the highest elevation in college football. That is the highest elevation you play at. That's much different than Wyoming. We played at Wyoming before. I've played in elevation before. I've done the California thing. This one's different because it's much more different than here. So we just have to be aware of it. It will be a factor in the game. We can't let it be the difference in the game. So yes, we'll have to find ways.
Will you leave earlier?
Pardon me?
Will you leave earlier to get them accustomed to that?
I wish I could. I'd leave today. But we can't. So we'll go out on Friday and play at the same lake we always play. So yeah, those things. You're right, guys. You got the same ideas I have, but really, there's no way to simulate it except you cannot. It's going to become a mental challenge, all right, and it's going to become a management deal. You've got to get multiple players ready to play. You're not going to go out there with just 5 offensive linemen, because you get that fourth quarter, it will affect you. So you're going to have to go out there with 7, 8 offensive linemen, rotate them as early as the first quarter so that you're good in the fourth quarter. And that's if you're in the game, because trust me, I've watched Air Force. They're as good as Air Force team that's ever probably played at Air Force. I don't watch them that much, but they've lost 5 games in 2 seasons. All right, throw out COVID season, right? That one doesn't count. And they've lost 3 games in 2 games, and no respect, and they got everybody back. I mean, they're flat good. All right, so yeah, we got that's a chore in itself, and then the harder, even a charter challenge. Come back the next week and play North Dakota at North Dakota, and we've never been there either. And that'll be in the dome and all the other stuff, just the opposite. But that's just as big a challenge coming off the Air Force game. So I'm looking at the schedule. Got to go to the next one after that, and then come home and play Sapp State, the Big Sky champion. Okay, that's the next week. So it's not just Air Force; it's going to be those things that come right back after that we got to get ready for.
Also related to Air Force, they bring a unique offense that not a lot of people see in college football. You mentioned new coaching staff, kind of getting used to your terminology. How different will it be defending that offense as compared to a regular offense, if you will, if there is one in college football?
This will be the 3rd or 4th, maybe 4th time, 4th or 5th time, whatever, that we've played it since I've been here. So you play it about once every 3 to 5 years. Whatever you do, the sad part about it, and here's the coach's version of it, is whatever you play against that, you'll never play the rest of the season. So you're going to put all this time into this special way of defending it. You're going to put all this time into it, and the next week when you play North Dakota, you'll never see where you played, and you'll never play it again for another 5 years. So that's the concept of when you start playing those types of teams. That's what happens to you defensively. Offensive, really you're playing a defense similar to what you see, and you can use there's carryover. There isn't much carryover at all when you play that style of offense to the rest of your season. That's why it takes every 5 years you play something like this, and then it takes 2 to 3 weeks to really understand it, get your players to understand what they're getting in for, and then you go to the next week and all that work technically is not used again. And then you go back and put your stuff in and get ready for the season.
Cody Reeder and Ryan Clinton are your co-offensive coordinators. Who will call plays?
Right now, it's that they're working. To me, I figured I'd get that question, and I know what's going on, and I think it's pretty evident. But those two are working really well together right now, and those two, they're 2 different. I don't want to say different mindsets. One's really structured in the run game, okay, in the play action. One's really structured in a different style of going fast and those types of things. But Ryan Clanton played in that system when he was at Oregon. So bridging that is really easy. And those two have gone hand in hand, in equal. And that's not press though. In equal. I've sat in a room while we put this thing together from February, March, and April, word for word, play for play. And I watched those two because I wanted to see how that bridged and came together. And it was better than I even anticipated because they're on the same wavelength of what they like and what they believe in. So, yeah, I feel very comfortable about what's going on. But we need points, okay? And that's the purpose of it. And best way to get it is how to get to that final stage and say, okay, let's go. All right, because they will both be involved. If you're on the headset, you guys never hear the headset. And when you get in the headset, you can have the same thing on defense right now. Who's calling defensive plays? Okay? Well, you guys figure that out. All right? But at the same time, somebody's got to be watching and thinking ahead while somebody's involved. And trust me, the guy that's thinking ahead is just as important because he's seeing what's going on. Well, that guy's play 1, play 2, play 3. He's thinking about next series, next era. How do I make the adjustment? And a good team that can adjust will win the game. That's how we stop people on defense is adjusting. But you got a set of eyes for one purpose. You got a set of eyes for the others. But if they're not synced, it doesn't matter. So it's how we won on defense and it's how we'll win on offense.
You've been picked to finish 5th in the league in the preseason poll, which sometimes 5th in the league is top 10 in the nation. But is that something that lights a fire in you, or is that something you expected to be in that spot?
No, it irritates me. Okay? Because I told the team last night, any UNI football player, any alum, is discontent with that. That's not where we're used to being. At the same time, what we have to do is get this team ready. They've got the alumni, the past has nothing to do with this season. So rankings, even if you were the number one, you say it doesn't mean anything. This still doesn't mean it. What it does mean is coming off last season, who do you have coming back and what are the expectations of those players based off media? And so, yeah, they're going to go off a lot of what you did last year. So I even look at that. Of those teams we're playing in the top 10, we beat 3 of them. Of the top 5, we beat 3 of them last year. So, but at the same time, we're in this position because our strength of schedule is really strong outside of this. Our schedule has changed our win-loss record as compared to other teams that are above us. We still have to match what's against us, but there's no question our schedules over the last 7-8 years have changed our preseason rankings. Getting us in the playoffs, not getting us home field advantage, but has changed that part of it because of strength of schedule and because of playing on the road more than playing at home. So absolutely.
Coach, Nick Ellis, I don't think he's played significantly snaps since 2019. Where is he at health-wise? What can he provide you guys?
I don't know, and I say that because I don't even know if 2019 is a significant snap because he's always been. He just gets out there, just gets healthy. He's an impact player, and then an ankle, a shoulder, a hip. He's always been nicked up right when he really gets good too. So I just hope that he can have the best season of his life because he really hasn't had it yet. And if he can do that, he'll bring a tremendous amount to our team. Okay, but he needs to get on the field to really bring his true personality to our team. He can only do so much from the sideline. Man, I want to get him on the field so he's out there for 12 football games and not a couple of them out. So he just needs to stay healthy, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
Following that up, Logan Wolf has been battled injuries last 2 years too. Where's he at?
Same thing. And Logan's out there right now building himself up, and nobody works harder trying to get back on the field than those two. And that's what's really discouraging or disheartening for me when I see Logan and Springvall go out and after 6 months of rehab get hurt within the first 2 snaps at receiver, untouched. So sometimes you just got to get through that. It's just that it's football, but those two, all you ask them to do is get ready to try to overcome the injuries, and those two have busted their tail. Rehabbed it not only once but twice sometimes in both cases, the same injury, and brought them back in their 6-month recovery type stuff. So that's how much they love it, and that's how much they want to be here. Heck, I think Logan's graduated, and I don't know I think he's still got 4 years left. I do the math, right? So crazy through the whole thing with COVID and everything and injuries. Try managing a roster right now, man. I don't even know who's who on this team as far as age, because it's just crazy.
How far along in the offensive installation are you, and are you pleased with your team's progress thus far?
I'm careful answering honestly. I'm okay with where we're at. I'm not pleased with where we're at because I know where we need to get to. They've done nothing wrong. I just haven't gotten there yet. We've got to get there because I know it's coming, and they don't. Okay, and they sense it. They're excited, of course, because they're just getting ready to play. But we have not. Do you guys all realize this is the first time in 2 years that we've had camp in this building or that field? I've been over at Sportsplex, all right, had a whole season at Sportsplex, a 50-by-50 field. That's where we practiced. Had to have 2 practices, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, the whole season. Didn't have goalposts, all right? That was the COVID season. The next season, okay, that was the same season, same year, right? That's when we were doing construction on the field, so we're practicing at Waterloo West. So we took our locker room over to Waterloo West. So we haven't been in here. That's why I wanted Michelle to move it in here. This is our building, right? And we haven't been here in 2 years. So even all these guys out here that you say have been around forever, for the last 2 seasons, this has not been their home. Heck, in the COVID season, we didn't get to practice in here because they'd roll the turf out for the game and roll it back up, and we'd go to Sportsplex. So I've been all over the place practicing, and that screws up continuity. But for the purpose of, now we're sitting in this room, and we've got that outdoor field. So there's a give-take to make progress, and that's part of it. And yet we're still a playoff team. Still not satisfied, like you said. And that's where you said, are you at where you're at? Absolutely not. It won't be there till the end of the season. Hopefully we'll get there sooner than later.
You mentioned Edwin Dearman at the nickel, and with Alfonso Lambert, of course, moving on. He played safety last year, stepped in that SDSU game when Benny was ejected. What went into that decision to move him to the nickel as opposed to keeping him at that safety position?
Because the best 11 play. The best 11 play. When I go to a practice field, I'm looking for the best 11, and then I'm looking for who's the 12th, who's the 13th, who's the 17th. I try to put them in order. Even when I go to a board in a room, I'm looking at 1 through 108 instead of 11, 11, 11. Okay, and then that's how I learned football from the guys that's Daryl Mudra as far as get your players in the best places. That's why he took an LJ Fort a long time ago and moved him to linebacker from a running back. He's in the league. That's how he took a Justin Sandy and moved him from receiver when he first got here, moved him to DB, played in the league forever. I mean, I go right down the list. You got to get your best 11 on the field. Sometimes you move across the line of scrimmage. Sometimes you move within the system. But your skill set has to meet your body set. I always say what Mother Nature gave you. And let's be elite with what Mother Nature gave you, which means play the position that fits your skill set and then become elite at it. So that's how I work.
Part of that shift, are you working on? Is he one of the people gaining weight?
Which one? Edwin?
Edwin, yeah.
Edwin's tough. I like about Edwin, man, got a great motor, tough as heck. You don't need to gain weight. You just need, man, he'll strike it. He's like Dexter, Deshaun Dexter. And Deshaun Dexter, he was a corner and moved him inside. Okay? Edwin was a free safety and moved inside. If you remember, I took a corner and moved him inside from Kansas City. Sorry, I went brain dead. He plays nickel force. The nickel's got to be good. Okay? Meaning really smart, great coverage ability, but has a hit like a linebacker, but has that cover like a corner. That's a special position, is that nickel position. So I'm always hunting for a body. If you go out there today, there's probably 5 of our starters are playing nickel. Then after I'll pick the one we want, I'll move the other ones to safety because that nickel's got to be good. Javon Brecky might be the nickel. Corby might be the nickel. Edwin might be the nickel. So don't get caught up in look for the best 11 is what I'm telling you to look for, not just a position.
Mark, what convinced you to allow this overhaul on offense? Was it something you talked about with Bodie when he interviewed? Was it something that him and Ryan approached you about? Joe, I know you folks played a big part of it as well, but this seems like it would be a big decision to make. So what was kind of the chain of events that led to the green light?
I don't know the chain of events because I wouldn't overthink it, but just basic is we came here in 01, okay? Coach Solomon and myself, we had to keep all the staff of that one. So we ran their words and their calls to play that season because we didn't get here till April 1st. So we used their words. So that was my first experience with them. I went to Kansas and took our words to them. It takes time to get 108 players to learn your way. You got to get them there. But yet, when I came here, it was like their players knew it better than I did. So we had to win now without spring ball. So with that experience, we came in and used the word. The second year, we started instilling our words into, because we had spring ball, meaning Solomon started putting in our words. There were some growing pains there because it's new, even though it may not be the same play. It's just maybe described a little bit. And then 2003, it took off through 4, 5, and on the rest of the deal. So to answer your question, we wanted to make it for you and I instead of keep grabbing words from other systems. Plays aren't that much different. I mean, plays are plays. But how you teach them and how you can comprehend them is a big difference. And I think what we did, our players have a better understanding of it, meaning it's theirs. They'll understand it better, they're more confident in it, and thus they should play faster. And that's how you score points.
Coach,
Don't get caught up in the plays.
Trevor Penning made some news last week for his behavior for New Orleans. What were your thoughts on that?
I thought he'd be playing through the whistle. They're taught to play through the whistle here. And the next day, my understanding, I might be totally wrong, because I didn't see it, but I heard it. The next day, he didn't make practice, right? Or they kicked him out. But the next day, he was full-time with the first team. Okay? Now, I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me, but at the same time I tell you this, Trevor's always been taught to play to the whistle. Trevor's always been on the edge. Double-edged sword. But that's why Trevor's in the league. Okay? Because you think about where that guy came from. Nothing. Mason City Newman came in here and made himself a player, was a kid that got, I don't want to say bullied, but was a kid that wasn't supposed to be anything and actually was at Clear Lake and then moved to Mason City Newman to play. So think of his background. Then he comes here, never said boo, you guys know he didn't say anything, all right, but he did the same thing here. Well, then he's successful doing it. Well, that's because he finishes stuff, and that's what makes him different than everybody. And you're supposed to play through the whistle. He's one click too long after the whistle, but at the same time, it's really made him the player he is. So he's going to have to find his way at the NFL level, but that's what got him to the NFL too, was that demeanor, and that's what I like. You got to play through the whistle. It's always easier to slow him down and get him sped up. So, but there's a fine line where it's just we have a saying around here that you won't say on a mic, but you know, you want to be that guy that just aggravates people, but you also got to know that it don't flag. Because the ones that aggravate you, man, they're always a nuisance. It's that guy. Look at Carter Schultz. Remember Carter? Carter was so unorthodox. He's a player of the year, defensive player of the year. He was just a pest to the offense because he went hard, throwing his arms around, always had a motor, played to the whistle, irritated everybody. He had a defensive player of the year. With not the talent of a defensive player of the year, but because of the energy and the attitude. Trevor's the same type of way. So you better have an edge if you're going to be great, but you also have to have that control. And I think that's what he's learning.
Coach, as I look out at this shiny new meeting room here, I was kind of wondering, what is the penalty for the first player that accidentally spills his Gatorade on the floor?
Good point. You cannot have red Gatorade in here. Okay? Red stains. You can't have Gatorade on that field. Red stains. All right? Last year was just water. I've upgraded to blue Gatorade. All right? They tell me that doesn't stain. But seriously, you want to know my rules? All right? Outdoor on that field. All right? No helmets on the field. No butts on the field. And no tape on the field. All right? Meaning how to take the tape off. Right? So that's out there. If they leave tape on the field, they'll run after practice. If I got to pick up 3 pieces of tape, they're running 3 gassers. All right? In here, all right, as far as this room, all right, no food in this room. Now, how long can you hold it? All right? But at the same time, this is nice. If you want, here's what I learned 100 years ago. Treat a player as he would and could be, and become what he would and could be. Treat a player like a Division I player, and he'll be a Division I player. It's like, and then go back to the opposite. Place that looks like a junk drawer in my garage, it gets worse and worse and worse because you don't take care of it. But when you take care of something, you shine it up a little bit, then you feel more like you're a quality, first-class place. So I do believe environment. I do believe classroom. I do believe the environment helps in teaching, okay? And it makes it much more quality and much more effective. That's kind of how I have rolled the whole time. And we're very fortunate we can have this setting. Now we got to keep this setting, and that's really hard to do, okay? Because, again, you got 100. This is our study table. If you look in there, there's plugins for laptops and stuff behind you underneath your foot. Well, that's for study table at night. All right, there's a few more things we got to do in here, but this is not just for football. It is our football meeting room, but hopefully our department can use it in the same way because I do believe it shows quality. And this is what we've been missing. Think about it, guys. We've never had a room. This is the only meeting room we have on this campus. This is it. Drop this wall down. That's offense, that's defense. This is it. Everywhere else we go, basketball, WRC, all right, from 1982 through 2022? How many years is that? 40 years. We've been in the WRC, basketball, on the floor, that corner over there, that chair over there, getting the hallway over there, rollerboard over there. For 40 years, that's what we've done, and still did what the players did by winning. Now, this is the first one, and that's why I'm always so thankful to what we have, because this is different for us. Might be for other programs, but for us, for me, 40 years of doing the other stuff and practicing on that crappy old field out there, okay? You know how many injuries? I shouldn't say this because something will happen now, but that field is so safe out there, right? This field is harder to practice on players than that field is, as I'm finding out. I did not know that till what's going on now. That saved ankles, that saved knees. That is so much better for the safety of our players going through 2-day camp. We came in here for 3 days in a row. We got tore up in here in ways that you get tear up because of growing poles and things like that. It's a stop go. It's much more torque on it. There's a little give to you out there. That other field, there was ACLs, ankles, all those types of things because it was wavy. It was, we hit a spot and we tried to break. It was fine. It's what we had, so that's what we did. But now that we have this, you kind of know what you've been missing in the whole process. So we're very, very fortunate to have what we have. Okay, now we got to take care of it.
You mentioned Brady McCullough. Any other freshmen sticking out so far?
Yeah, the Deshaun Daly, Staley. God dang, I didn't expect him, but he flashes. My moments are this. I'll tell you what I told the team. Who's that? Charlie gave you a T-shirt that said, "Who's that?" on the back. And then the next one is, "Who'd you do it against?" So I sit there and watch practices. I'm really not looking at players. I'm looking at what's going on. And then something flashes, whether Deion McShane running past the corner, that's a who's that. Or a tackle that a guy flashes by and makes a tackle. And when you look up, it's going, who is that? Because I need to find out who made that play. Deshaun has made some who's that moments. Okay. Brady McCarl has had a couple of who's that moments. And then, of course, just the vets that had their time out there, too. But those are two young guys that showed up within the first 6 days of, hey, I was athletic.
A year ago at this time, Theo Day was one of the freshest faces in your QB room. Now he's got the most starting experience in that room. How's he handling that responsibility and pressure?
I'd answer that one like this: is Theo Day Theo Day showed up in our room like right before the season started. I think he was only here like a couple weeks before he played. So that's like throwing something in like we've all been talking about, the people. Now he was with us all summer long. And the way I really believe our team is made, you want to define UNI football, define our off season. Because your off season makes your team. And so Theo got to go through that off season with what we do in the weight room, what we do in the sand, what we do in the all day long, and he got to experience that, which pulls you together as a unit because you're experienced with your whole team. So that is more important to me with how he'll handle a huddle and a team on game day, probably more so than maybe what he did instead of practices.
With Bryce Popp's assistant head coach, what went into that decision?
He's UNI football. He understands what we do. I had JJ, and I had, I always like to keep what UNI is about because we're really unique guys. It's much more unique around here than you think. And so Bryce understands what we're trying to get done as a team off the field as much as on the field. And he is established as a coach with the players and what he's about, and he's effective in what he does. The other ones, I look at him as, he's got to do stuff that I can't get to everything. So he's got to be that person that's involved in those things that I can't get to every day and kind of keep an eye on what's going on behind us as much as what I'm trying to keep track of what's going on in front of us.
You've mentioned both Deion and Vance McShane factoring into your offensive plans for this year. Just comment on those two guys and what they bring to this team.
And there's speed, athleticism, great work ethic on the practice field. Very talented. Very talented. They just got something about them. Because you go out to the practice field, you want your other guys to see how you run. During the film, Deion running 100 miles an hour was the first play of practice and the last one. He's sore and he still wants to go in when he's tore up a little bit. And Vance is the same way. And now Vance has been here, so he's excited because he made the move here out of his school to play here. One, to play with his brother, but also to play at Division I. So this is kind of his year to become his own type of player. But I think they're both very dynamic players, and excited to see what they can do.
Impressions of Harrison Bay-Bowie so far, running back from Eastern Illinois?
He showed up yesterday when we started tackling. Harrison Bay-Bowie, he's Bettendorf. He's still an Iowa kid. That's what I like about him. He started for Eastern Illinois, I believe. So he's a starting tailback for Eastern Illinois as a freshman. And he wanted to come here for a long time. And so he made the move, even though he's a starter there, he made the move to us. He showed up yesterday when we went by because he's thick, he's strong. He's better have both shoulder pads buckled up as you get him, is what I found out. Okay, because he's a force coming through there. He's not fast, but it's a force, which is effective.
Any other transfers popping off here early in practice?
Just as what's popping off me. that's me. That's just a joke, right? But not that they're all good. That's why they're here. It's like, who's going to become impactful with the guys that we already have? People think you took a transfer that he's going from division, but if they find out, and what we already know is, just because you come to PCS and you come here doesn't mean you're going to walk in and be that guy. You're going to have to earn that spot when you do it. So yeah, I'll wait till they earn the spot.
Do you guys respond better when they have to earn the spot than if you just guarantee them a spot?
Absolutely. They're told when they come here, there's no guarantees. All right, they know the depth chart, but we don't promise it. What we promise anybody is the opportunity. You'll get a fair shot to win it, but we've got good players too. So when they come in, they become part of us. They have to do it our way, and if you can win the position, it's yours. You'll get every opportunity to win it. But so will the guy that came here out of high school, and that's how we battle. But it's been good. The guys we brought in are challenging those positions, and that's why you bring them in. And if they win it, we're even better. Good.
Yeah, I worry we're gonna miss the players. So,
All right, thanks.
which will still be around if you have a couple other questions for them. Thank you. And credentials, we just brought one up, so I think we have yours, Darren. Oh, hey.
I hope I didn't overstep my bounds.
No, I needed
But,
help. I appreciate it.
Just wanted to kind of tuck over there and